to welcome everyone here to our regular council meeting of January 26th, 2017. It's always good to have Mr. Denny Manning with us. And if everyone will please stand, I'm going to ask Mr. Manning to lead us in our invocation and pledge allegiance.
Okay. I'm used to pushing this button here. I apologize. Let us pray, please. Our Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Lord. We thank you for another beautiful day today, Lord. So, Lord, we ask you to watch over each and every one here tonight, Father. Those that's also sick, watch over our men and ladies on the battlefield, Father, and all of our police officers and all the employees, Lord. Everybody here, God. And God, help our counsel tonight, Lord. Give them the knowledge they need, Lord, of decisions they make, Father. Be great for our city. Thank you for them, Lord. But most of all, thank you, Lord, for loving each one of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let's pray your flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We can have the roll call, please. Here.
Vice Mayor Sewell.
Here.
Councilmember Cagle.
Here.
Councilmember Hilton. Here. Councilmember Williams.
Here.
City Manager Miller.
Here.
Interim City Attorney Litchfield.
Here. Okay, I trust everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes from the January 12th agenda work session as well as the regular council meeting of that same date. We also have the December 2016 financial statement available to us. All of those items are in the consent agenda. Do we have a motion? We have a motion to approve. We have a second. Second. We can have the roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Sewell.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton. Yes. Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Just as a follow-up to the last meeting, I think we adopted or approved the November 2016 financial statement. At that time, we were about 20% ahead in sales tax revenue. And I made the statement, I'll be interested to see December, to see how the Christmas season went. Well, after December, we're 26% ahead of where we were through the same time last year. So, good year so far. Knock on wood.
Would like to know, we have received January.
Oh, really?
The deposit, local option is now $1.4 million.
Fantastic. Keep those cash registers singing out there. All right. At this time, we will entertain communication from citizens. If you are a resident of the city of East Ridge or business owner here in the city and have a comment, question, or concern you'd like to bring to the council, now would be your opportunity to do so. If you will come to one of the two microphones here at the front and state your name and address for the record, you will have 5 minutes. Janet tells me no one signed in, so it's fair game for anyone out there. Okay.
Come on. I didn't see you. Okay.
You'll be next, Ed.
Greg Shipley, 6116 Nottingham Drive. I was just curious about the part when I saw the paper this week about we're going to give up the piece of land from Wright Street on over to the Camp Jordan Road.
It's actually not that large.
What I was wondering about, if we're giving up any of it, my part was thinking, fire department leaves from here, they gotta go to Ringo Road, go down, go through Camp Jordan, if they need to get to something in the Camp Jordan Run area, or back behind the ball fields. But if you come out and have to go down around Froggy Road every time, but somebody on Martha Avenue or down on the far end of Froggy Road, you know, you're gonna have to go that way anyway on that route. But to get somebody close to the apartment complex, we build up there, Dogwood Place or something like that. I was just wondering, I hate to give away any land, because we know what happened last time we gave away land, it cost us $609,000. But that was just what I wanted to ask about and see where that was at, and I'm sure there's something I don't know, so fill me in and I'm fine.
We're really not giving up the land. We are abandoning that section because that road stays there. There'll be a major conflict with traffic flow. So that's one little area is going to be abandoned. Half of it goes to the owners on each side, and in this case, the hotel that's there now would get it. Of course, they've got, that would also, I believe that is owned by Exit One. So they get half, and we get the other half. You can have that road continually there, with the road that's coming right off. You can create a very
I understand
I
that.
guess I can answer this question as far as whenever this road will be shut down till the new road's built.
right.
And when that does it, the fire truck can come out and go down.
Go ahead, go ahead, come on out, that's what
So
it
they
said.
don't have to do it first.
Also too,
Ringo Road, fire.
before you come out, we are also working with Exit One to build a roadway that's going to be behind the,
Like going out St. Thomas or something like that?
no, not St. Thomas. You come out St. Thomas, that little, go west, there'll be another road that will go on the east side of the old hotel that's there. The new hotel that will be built.
Right, it's technically on GIS, I think it's a street, but it was never created.
Yeah, but.
Never actually constructed.
I didn't read it.
Lenore.
I don't know what the name is.
Lenore.
Lenore, that's it.
The right street is on the other side of the hotel, and there was one more little street.
Yeah, and that Lenore, that one will be eventually constructed so that we'll be able to get into the back end.
Okay, with what you were saying, well, that makes it,
Yeah.
buddy kind of clear a little bit. But
Right.
the only reason I was worried about that, was I thought even with people leaving, going back to get on the freeway north, they could just go on and get home out the new road. And the old would be a nice bypass to go out and go toward Georgia, you know. But if you're gonna do the other, that
You leave-
makes perfect sense.
If you don't abandon that road, you're gonna have cars that are gonna be backed up because they won't be able to get on Camp Jordan Parkway because they
Yeah.
back up the traffic from that traffic signal that's gonna be installed there. That's not safe.
Okay, I just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey, do we have,
Well, excuse me,
yes, no problem.
first meeting, and this may not be appropriate, this is where I was told how to start.
If we could just get your name and address, I'm sorry.
Rhonda Martin, 3424 Shadow Drive.
Okay,
My problem is a residential street.
I'm sorry, could you, there's a little button at the base of the microphone. It should make a red light come
All
on.
right,
All right, thank you.
yes. And it's a little two-lane street that runs from South Seminole to the top of the ridge. There's been 5 animals run over this year on our street. Most of the people that live on it, I've lived there 25 years, are elderly people. We have some children, very few. But it's very dangerous. One man came to locate gas lines across the street, and a car almost hit him while he was out trying to do his job. They come down through there like it's a Daytona 500. And if the tunnel's backed up, they just whiz off of the top of the ridge because it's the detour. And they come down through there and you just take your life into your own hand getting in or out.
I'm sorry, which street was it?
Shadow Lawn.
Shadow Lawn.
It is actually Shadow Lawn that you're talking
It
about.
is actually
Okay.
Shadow Lawn, and I think Shadow Lawn runs on across, doesn't it?
Yes, yes.
But I live on the part that goes up the side of the ridge. I live halfway up the hill. What they do, they top that hill, and they just fly. You wouldn't stand a chance if you were backing out or anything it off and put it off, and I'm tired of seeing animals get run over. And then we had one driver the other night swerve to hit one on purpose. Now, this summer, I stood out in my yard and I hollered at them to slow down when I saw them coming too fast. Because it's my knowledge that in the residential section, you're only supposed to be going 30 miles an hour.
We had some complaints I fielded back in, I think June or July, Chief. And we went over there and put the traffic, what was it? Speed trailer over there, and maybe we'll have to do that again and get out there and take a look at it. Because I think it was June or July, they had a major backup in the tunnels, and my phone ran off the hook when I went out there. I know exactly where you are. I looked at a house on that street.
Yeah, don't buy there.
No, up the hill, halfway up the hill.
Yes, but anyway.
But I know what you're saying, and when that tunnel backs up, the reason they go shadow on.
Yeah.
Over there, so.
And there's some people that you see on a regular basis that just go too fast.
I know.
But,
Usually, yeah. I think we can get something out there again and take a look at that.
And then we have a house that opened up, Oxford House, and there for a while, they were parking like half out in the street. And when you've only got a little 2-lane road or street, there's no room for anybody to be parking in part of the street, you know. So that's what I'm here for, this new experience.
Well, we appreciate you being here and
Okay.
telling us about this
If there's
concern, absolutely.
Yeah, if there's anything you can do as far as speed humps or those flashing, I think I've seen the flashing light that tells you how fast you're going on
Yeah,
South
speed
Seminole.
trailers, we put those out there.
Yeah, on
Months ago.
South
Yes.
Seminole, but there's never been anything on Shadowlaw that I'm aware of. And I've lived there 25
Yeah.
years.
Okay.
Unless they put it higher up. But I live halfway down the
Yeah, I'm
hill.
not sure where they were, but I saw them out there. We put them out there.
Yeah, I know they're on South Seminole or have been, but our little street kind of gets forgotten about. But I appreciate your time. And if it's all right, I'm not used to protocol. I have 2 special needs children, or well, young adults now. And I need to go home, but this was very important to me to be here tonight.
Thank you.
We appreciate you taking time out and again coming to share this with us, and we will certainly look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brandon?
Is 2 things I'd like to bring up tonight. One thing, Mr. Miller, the neighbors, they tell you they appreciate you getting that street light put up.
Is it up?
Yep, they finally got it up yesterday. After 6 years, they finally made it up. What happened on it, let me explain it to you. What happened on it, remember, Mayor, when Mr. Hudson was living next door to me there? Well, Larry does and all that. But anyhow, he had the pole moved over on my property because he didn't want it in his yard. So they took the street light off of it that night, or that day, and they said, we'll be back tomorrow with it. Well, that took them 6 years later. Mr. Miller wrote him a letter. Took them 6 years later, finally come back, put that light back up. I went up to an aggravated guy, I said, boy, it took you a long time to get here. He said, well, you look, I walked on a cast, I broke my foot. I said, it took 6 years for that foot to heal up. He said, no. He said, my wife swung I think he said a punch bowl at him and broke his foot. And this actually happened, is what the guy told me. And I said, well, I don't want to be around your wife. And another thing I'd like to bring up, and I asked the mayor, I won't ask you, I'll just put this for everybody, okay? And don't want to embarrass nobody. But in this way, it help a rumor stop going around. There's a rumor going around that we're thinking about getting rid of Mr. Martin out of the park. If we get a grant, they ain't gonna put out, the county's not gonna put out no money because if Mr. Martin stays over the park. And I don't know whether y'all know about that or not, but not trying to embarrass none of you.
First I've heard of it.
Yeah. But I don't, he's back there. I know if he's back there or not, but I do have to give him credit on one thing. When he first come here, Mayor and the rest of y'all been here. When he first come here, that park wasn't making no money. Now, since he's been here, that park's really done, a lot of money. And he ain't give me nothing to say this, he didn't know I was gonna say it, so I may have to charge him after fall for a steak dinner. But anyhow, I also want to tell all y'all, I appreciate all the work y'all done. Even Larry ain't let me go down to the beach cottage yet. But anyhow, I was gonna tell every one of you, I appreciate you. We're praying for all of you because I know you need the prayers and I need to practice to help y'all pray. So y'all help me pray too. So remember my wife next week, she goes through some situations and so we got the Lord on our side, so we ain't worried about it. That's over us. All you do is give it to the Lord, let the Lord take care of it. But like I said, I appreciate all you ladies and men. I think the last time I said men, and I apologize to the two ladies. And but anyhow, I thank God for my city, and I thank the honor for being the chaplain of this city.
Thank you, Danny.
Been 99-year-old, I'm doing.
You're not quite there. Thank you very much. All right, do we have another? Yes, sir.
Anthony Klopper, 706 Myron Lane. I think the idea of a housing authority is a great idea because obviously that's the only way the city can legally buy and rehab property. So it's a wonderful idea for Blight. But what I came to ask was a couple things. First, when we get a 25-year note to pay for something we're doing, the Board of Region Act, can we front load our interest costs on that for reimbursement? So we can apply for the reimbursement, because obviously the interest is assessed each year for 25 years. So can we charge what we're gonna be charged through the entire note upfront for reimbursement now?
It all goes under the reimbursement, and the money coming in is limited. For example, we may put in for $5 million worth of reimbursement and only received this past year $1.25 million,
No.
so they're gonna carry that anyway.
No, sir, I understand, but what I'm saying is, does the money have to be spent before you can put in for reimbursement? Because obviously, we won't be assessed interest until, 2025 for part of this note, but can we front load it and resubmit the interest rate for the whole length of the note now during our 5-year period for reimbursement?
It's my understanding that as long as we have a fixed rate, it's amortized,
Amortized,
It's amortized over 30 years.
that we can submit?
that we can.
Okay.
I don't know what advantage you get for front loading the interest.
Well, you can't, if you don't put in for reimbursement in that 5-year period, you don't get reimbursed.
I think you're referring to just in terms of can we get all of our interest costs?
I'm not talking about paying it, I'm talking about, for reimbursement. And then my other question is this. Has anyone checked into whether or not we can get insurance against Board Region reimbursements? For instance, I believe the citizens would be a lot more comfortable spending a whole lot more money to get a lot of things done in the next 5 years if we could insure our losses, because one good tornado, what happened to Ringgold to us, could set us back 5 years or 10 years on reimbursement costs and push us below the 2012 threshold. Now, if that doesn't happen until 15 years from now, that might not be possible because of inflation, would still stay above 2012, but it wouldn't take much to get a setback. And if we could buy insurance for the entire length and then pay for it now and reimburse it now, we could reimburse against our own losses. I don't know if it's possible, but they insure everything nowadays, so
That's interesting.
It's worth-
Think about it.
it's worth looking at, because it might
Worth the
take the
question.
handcuffs off if we've got an insurance policy against what some people fear might happen, and allow us to actually spend what we need to spend to get stuff done in the next 5 years. It's just an idea, I don't know, I just want to throw it out there.
Worth asking the question.
Yeah, that's all I got, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have another? Right. We will move on to communication from council members. Mr. Gager. Mr. Sewell.
I just want to remind everybody about the football banquet, January 30th, 6:30, Crossroads. We'll get all that out.
Sorry, what time again?
6:30.
6:30. Anything else? So,
I don't have anything.
Mr. Wood. I just wanted to say thank you to the good folks at Eastridge Middle School. I had the opportunity to go yesterday and be the pronouncer for the spelling bee. And Ms. Helton was one of the judges there, and it was impressive. We got down to some very interesting words there that I'm not sure I would have been able to spell, but the kids did a great job. I think there were 26 that took part, and it was, again, just very impressive.
First and second winners of that were right on this.
Oh, really?
I was impressed.
Yeah, they got into one of those good little battles. That's always the best part, when you get right down to the end, and the other has to spell, if one misses it, the other one has to spell the same word to win, and it's pretty interesting. So, it was good. But I appreciate the opportunity to participate in that. Good stuff. Mr. Miller?
Nothing, sir.
Okay. All right, and with that, we will move to old business. And a public hearing for property located at 403 Donaldson Road. It is to be rezoned from R1 residential to R2 residential. And this is in regard to ordinance 1026, which will be before us on second and final reading tonight. At this time, we will open the public hearing, having been properly advertised. If anyone is here who would like to address the council in regard to this rezoning, now would be your opportunity to do so. If you will come to one of the microphones here at the front, state your name and address for the record. I see none. Council, do you have any questions to be asked? This has gone through the Planning Commission. It has gone through this council on first reading. Again, with second reading to follow.
Already is duplex.
It was built.
Grandfathered in.
It was built as a duplex in 87. And has always been used as a duplex, and it's surrounded by other duplexes here. All right. There are no further questions, so we will close this public hearing and proceed to item B, which is the second final reading of this ordinance.
Ordinance number 1026, an ordinance to the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations and zoning map of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to rezone property located at 403 Donaldson Road from R1 Residential District to R2 Residential Duplex District, tax map number 156E K 007.01.
Okay, I'm sorry. Do we have a motion? Was there one and I missed it? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Cagle, second from Ms. Helton. Are there any questions? All right, we can have the roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Stoll,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton. Yes. Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. It is approved. All right, I would like to move a couple of items if we can, because we have folks here specifically for those items. One of those will be item D, Resolution 2627. I think we have someone here. Yes, ma'am. If you'll come forward, it'd be great. If there are no objections, could we change the order here and address item D. I'm sorry. Okay, yes. Item 9D is item D under new business, resolution number 2627. Okay, Janet told me your name, but I don't remember it, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You don't see me very often. My name is Crystal Bishop. I'm with the Hamilton County Water Quality Program. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak on this item today. The City of East Ridge is a part of our water quality program. It's established on an interlocal agreement between Hamilton County and 8 other jurisdictions, one being East Ridge. And we operate the city's MS4 permit on their behalf. And that, in layman's terms, is their stormwater permit for water quality to comply with state and federal regulations. The permit cycles usually are 5 years long, and we've been operated under an extension for the past 1 year. And per the SOP that's established along with that interlocal agreement is anytime we apply for a new permit, the program is to address the city legislatures for each interlocal agreement member and participant to allow them the opportunity to look at the application, and it's called an NOI, but it's actually the application for the permit, and to pass a resolution allowing the mayors to sign on to this permit. So we have 9 lines because there are 9 mayors that get to sign this permit. So you have a resolution authorizing the county program to request the permit and to apply for the permit again, and then there's also a piece of that resolution that is allowing the mayor to sign that onto that NOI. So I will be more than happy to address any questions. The NOI is 26 pages long. The Hamilton County Management Committee has already reviewed this information and approved it. Mr. King Custer sits on that on behalf of East Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Thank you for taking time out to be with us tonight. This is, again, it's resolution 2627.
Calling to attention under 9D, resolution 2627, a resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, approving the Phase 2 stormwater permit, notice of intent for the Hamilton County Water Quality Program, and authorizing the mayor of East Ridge to sign all required documents necessary for the small municipal separate storm sewer systems permit.
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have our second. Any questions? We can have the roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Sewell.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton. Yes. Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Resolution is approved. Thank you again, Ms. Bishop. Okay, we also, again, if there are no objections, I know there's a couple of folks from Exit One LLC who are here to talk to us about, yes, they actually have 9A and 9E. So again, with council's permission if we could deal with item 9A and then move E up to coincide. Will be dealt with subsequent to that. So item A, ordinance number 1027.
First reading for ordinance number 1027, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, to abandon a portion of right-of-way at the 600 block of Camp Jordan Parkway under the jurisdiction of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee.
Mr. Miller?
Okay. As we basically discussed earlier tonight, Camp Jordan Parkway at that curve is to be abandoned when the roadway is completed as part of the Exit 1 interchange project. Camp Jordan Parkway will extend off of Ringgold Road and attach right to the Camp Jordan Parkway, which is today on the southeast corner where Bass Pro Shop is. So that curve going around there is going to be abandoned. And they're usually doing abandonment after it goes to the property owner to the north or to the south. Exit 1 needs that property. Well, actually, Exit 1 is working with a national restaurant to locate on the southern portion of the property where the American Best Inn used to be located. Right now, it's being torn down. That extra area is going to be needed for additional parking for this restaurant that goes in there. So it's almost appropriate to, when we abandon this, is just to deed that portion of it over to Exit 1 LLC, since that will not be utilized for traffic flow anymore. And would be an advantage with a new business coming into the city. The ordinance before you on first reading basically does that. You have a picture of what is to be abandoned on Schedule 1. And you know, it basically provides the parking spaces for this new business.
I have,
Yes, sir.
I think they're legal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. My first question would be on this final plat. Down on the bottom about the center, it reads, I, we, the undersigned, hereby adopt this plat as our plan or subdivision and certify that I and we are the owners of property, fee simple, and hereby dedicate the rights of way to the public use forever. Now, that word forever, does that stop us from abandoning this thing, because this road was dedicated to the city of East Ridge for public use? It's on this side final plat. And also in the deed, says the City of East Ridge Municipality Corporation joins in this estimate for the purpose of confirming its acceptance of this right-of-way hereby dedicated for the use of a public street for access over, into, and through Camp Jordan Parkway in conjunction with this and other right-of-way. So, can we legally do this?
We've looked at this and in connection with our assessment. What you're looking at on the plat here is a dedication of what the grantor gave to the city of Chattanooga, to the city of East Ridge. That's what it was dedicating forever. In other words, the grantor is dedicating it, not reserving any right of take back or conditions of a reverter. The city of East Ridge accepted the dedication of that right of way in accordance with what the guy, and I can't read the name on here.
David Barnes?
That's right. And Mr. Barnes dedicated here. This is not a condition of which, if it's no longer used as a right of way, it would somehow revert back. And even if it did revert back, it would revert back to the successor in interest, who in this case, as I understand it, in our title search is Exit 1, 2.
It says for public use.
That's correct. He's dedicating it to the grantee for public use. there's no reversionary language in here that this would be required that it always be. And to the extent that it wouldn't be, it would revert back. But in this situation, that's not a condition of the dedication that it always be a public use. If it were, you would have it required in here that some language in here has got to be clear that it would always be used for public right of way and that it would not be used for any other use. So that in other words, if the exclusive use were public right of way, which is not in the deed, then you might have something to be more concerned.
When you abandon a piece of property like a street, you are in essence taking note that that street no longer has a quote-unquote public use. You gotta make that definition first. If the street doesn't have a public use, then you go forth to abandon it.
Paragraph at the D here where it states that it's affirming the acceptance of the right-of-way hereby dedicated for the use as a public street.
Yep.
And the public street is for the access over approved to Camp Jordan parking lot.
Generally, when you're looking at deeds of these type, you're looking for language where it says something that runs with the land. This is a condition that runs with the land. To the extent that there's any argument that this would be a condition placed upon this land that is in perpetuity always going to be a dedicated right-of-way for public use, this doesn't contain the language that the courts have required in deeds to have, so that a condition is one, has actually been formed, and two, that it run with the land. Our evaluation of this is that it simply was a dedicated by Chew Chattanooga Inn Partnership for a right-of-way, but there was no requirement placed upon the city that it always be used as a right-of-way. And alternatively, if that's the case, the city here is abandoning this property, they're not making of any use of it, and so if there was a restriction on the city, they're not in any way violating, they're just abandoning the property.
It goes back on tax rates, right?
You're saying that
Yes,
the
yes, sir.
plan meeting here where it says hereby dedicated the right of way to the public use forever. Now, forever is what I'm saying.
In our position, from what we have been,
So would we have to give it back to Mr. Chew, let Mr. Chew and these gentlemen here work out an agreement?
no,
Mind if I make a couple quick comments? Is that okay, Mayor?
certainly.
So,
Name.
John Healy with Exit One. We purchased the property from the previous owner. We currently own the property now. The reason that we're here is that the previous property owners, of which we have the current deed now, donated this property to the city for the use of the road. This property used to belong to the parcel that we purchased. Okay, so we inherited this property, and ultimately the previous owners donated it to the city for the use of the road. The city is no longer using it for the road. If there was a reversion in the property, we wouldn't need to come before the city for this. So the city is no longer going to be using it for a road. We're asking that the city let us use it. It was originally the property that went with the parcel that we purchased, so we're just simply asking the city to give it back to us.
Well, this deed of correction I've got here, that put it up over to us.
That's correct, from the previous landowner that we bought.
We no longer owned it. When we resold it to you, so you didn't buy it from me.
We bought the parcel from,
Right away.
no, you currently own the right of way.
Right, okay.
That's right. You're abandoning it. We're asking you to abandon it. Typically speaking, when you do an abandonment, both property owners get half. We're asking to get the entire thing since the city won't need the property. And we can actually put it into the tax rolls and use it for a development, which will ultimately be a good thing for the city, we believe.
You're saying, Mr. Attorney, that this is, that we do not have to continue using this as a public right of way?
That's correct. And the fact that you're abandoning it now confirms now that you all no longer intend to use it, and therefore go back now to, if it's gonna split, if you all are abandoning your portion, we go into the property owners and that one.
Do we have any other questions? Just to give everyone a little background on this, and we're talking about approximately a third of an acre that is, currently has Camp Jordan Parkway sitting on it. That was land that was given to the city back in 1992, I believe it was, for the construction of the parkway that accesses Camp Jordan. And because we're doing the complete overhaul of that interchange, we are not going to be using that piece of road that currently exists. It will go away. We're going to be using a new entrance onto Camp Jordan Parkway. The city ultimately doesn't have much use for this small parcel. It's not going to be used for what it was originally used for. And so the developers of Exit 1 are asking for that little chunk of land to be abandoned so that it can be used as parking for part of their development.
How much is 30 acres worth of land in now? Whatever the food was getting, I wasn't willing to give.
I really couldn't answer that. The total development's approximately 50 acres, I think. Is that correct?
Was the question what it's worth?
Yeah, what's
Okay, it was donated as use for the road, so if the city were to take it back and use it for something other than the road, is that what you're asking?
what's a third of acre worth on that end?
Well, frankly, I don't think it's worth, you can't, it's not buildable, you have setbacks requirements.
Basically build a parking lot on it. How much is that parking lot worth?
It's, I don't know the answer to that.
How much is it helping you to be able to get this contract with this restaurant? You're not gonna get the contract unless we give you the parking spaces?
I can't say that we wouldn't get a contract without getting the parking spaces. I think it's a matter of, do you want a restaurant set back an additional 60 feet from Ringgold Road, which we believe would impact their ability to do business. So we think it helps them to be closer to the road. If we don't, we have to provide the parking either way. So it's going to be a raw piece of land sitting there, no longer used as a road. It was given to the city to begin with. We think it's only prudent that it be returned onto the tax rolls that have a business there that's viable, that's generating sales tax. The city receives local option tax, property tax, etc. off this property. It just seems to make sense.
And I think ultimately a question that we all could ask ourselves. If the owner at the time had thought that at some point, someday, the city of East Ridge is not going to use this piece of property that I'm giving them for a road. They're not going to use it as a road. Would he have given it to us in the first place? I think the answer is no. I mean, if he gave it for a specific purpose, and ultimately, at some point in time, that purpose is not going to be fulfilled, then I can't imagine why he would give it up. I'm sure he envisioned that road would be there in perpetuity. And, I mean, how many of us, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, ever thought we would have a completely new interchange right there? I sure didn't. So, I mean, there are lots of hypotheticals that we could run through. But for me, the parcel was owned by the person who owned the hotel. The folks who now own the hotel would like to have it back since we're not going to use it for a road.
And I think not having the hotel there, I would argue, is a good thing for the city, would you not, Councilman Cagle?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I was just going to volunteer. My name's Ethan Wood with Exit 1. I was going to offer a couple other comments. The third of an acre that you had asked about, that's on the front, if we weren't to build on it, it's not large enough. If we built our property right up to the edge of what would be what we own today, that third of an acre, by the time you do setbacks, nobody else could ever do anything on it. It's not large enough to do anything. The only reason we can put a parking lot on it is because we're adding that with some additional property that we currently own. And through all of that, allows us to put parking on it. If you didn't do this with us, then it would never be able to be used by anyone else. And so ultimately, it would never be put back on the tax rolls.
Well, the city couldn't sell it to anyone else. If you abandon the property, you have to give it to the adjoining property owners, you give the adjoining property owners the right to. You can't go sell it to another party to put an ice machine there or something like that. I mean, it's not big enough to build a building on.
Well, there's no access to that piece of property because the way Mike Price is here, he helped design part of Camp Jordan Parkway, but the access would not, there is no access to that piece of property from Camp Jordan Parkway.
Landlocked.
It's landlocked essentially.
Come here from Cape Park.
Sorry?
Come here from Cape Park.
It would just be a dead end, I guess I understand.
But that's still access to it.
God, I need to talk to you about buying some other real estate.
We feel like it's the best use of the city's property. Obviously, definitely, I think from our standpoint, this is the best use for property that's really unusable for anybody else.
And we do have currently a deal signed with a tenant on this site, a national restaurant that is contingent upon us getting this done. There's some other things that we have to do with to finalize ultimately this deal, but this is certainly an important part of, we have signed a deal with this national tenant at this point. This is not speculative.
If this passes.
I'm sorry?
If this passes.
No, we've already signed the deal.
I'll make a motion for you.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 1027. Are there any other questions? Have the roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Sewell.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
No.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes.
Can I ask a question, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Are we going by protocol? Aren't we supposed to make a motion second, then discuss? Seems like we've been discussing, then make a motion.
We,
Good anyway.
technically by Robert's rules,
That's what I
there
thought.
needs to be a motion and a second. We've had visitors who have come to discuss prior to a motion being made. So technically, yes, a motion and a second need to be made before we wind up in full-blown discussion. But again, because of what we call extenuating circumstances, we've had additional commentary prior to a motion.
Okay.
The next item that we've moved forward is 9E, a request from Exit 1 in regard to a wood fence on Camp Jordan Parkway. If you want to start us By the way, this, because there's no ordinance or resolution drafted, this is kind of fair game. So we can have discussion prior to a motion and second.
Okay, this is fencing along Camp Jordan Parkway. Map engineers, I believe they're represented here tonight, are just about to complete preparing a detailed plan specification and bid documents for the bidding and construction of this Camp Jordan Parkway. The amenities are going to include sidewalks on both sides of the parkway, planting of trees. I think we have about 105 of them going in, both sides, east and west side, as well as the 5 medians. And we're also going to have street lights, installation of street lights along the parkway. Action 1 has requested, in addition to this project, would be the erection of a floor split rail fence along the entire length of the parkway. You've got pictures of that in your agenda. And you also have my comments in regard to it. So I can turn it over to anyone has any questions of me or John or Ethan want to address this. This be a request for your fence.
Thank you, John Healy. I think that as part of the landscape plan on the parkway, one of the items, we actually just erected a fence along I-75 to replace the existing TDOT right-of-way fence. And we actually had this 4-rail split fence that we tried to do. We had to go through some approval processes with TDOT to get it approved, because it's not a typical fence that TDOT puts up along the interstate. I think that has been approved. Yeah, and so we are actually, there's going to be a 4-rail split fence put all the way along I-75 attached to the front of the existing fence that we put there. And then they're going to take it all the way around, TDOT is going to take it all the way around the new on-ramp, all the way to the new intersection. We think that that has visual appeal. It's a relatively inexpensive product, and so we had envisioned one day potentially the 4-rail fence running down both sides of the parkway, and then ultimately we think it would be nice through the park if the city ever chose to do that in the future. We have talked to Bass Pro about this. This is something that they're interested in increasing the landscape in front of their store. It's something that would help, all along Camp Jordan Parkway there will be parking lots. It's something that will help mask the fronts of cars that are sitting along the parkway, and we think ultimately help the parkway look better with sidewalks and landscape and trees. I know, Mr. Miller, that's probably not your preference, and frankly, I don't think that we're married to the idea of a fence. I think it would look good. I can show you some other retail areas that do require a fence or have a fence in front of retail. We're essentially asking for this to be put along areas where it's just in front of parking. So there would be a break in the fence at all the curb cuts into the parking, which would, people walking up and down the parkway, instead of walking through in between cars into the retail, they would actually walk in where there's a curb cut. Many developments use a hedgerow instead of a fence. I don't think that we're opposed to doing that. I just think that something needs to be incorporated into the landscape plan to differentiate the city's property, the roadway, and the parking lots where in the developments. I'm happy to provide some pictures of you all with different either fences or, there's some pictures here of fence. This Collierville, Tennessee uses a 3-rail white fence along a lot of their retail corridor. They're pretty stringent design guidelines in Collierville. All the buildings have to be brick. There's some sort of barricade in between the parking or the sidewalks and the landscape and developments. So in part of Collierville, you can either use a fence or a hedgerow. So these are the different pictures. And the other pictures are Turkey Creek in Knoxville. They use a combination of both fence and hedgerow. But that's what these pictures are.
I think the city manager and I talked about this a little bit. I think one of the concerns would be just maintenance on the fence. You know, are you going to get out and paint it every 2 years, 3 years, whatever? I think if we were to do some kind of barrier, probably a more permanent solution and a less labor-intensive solution would be a hedgerow of some kind. But you know, with the current landscaping plan that we've been looking at, it's really hard to know exactly how it's all going to blend together. You know, is the fence going to get kind of lost in the landscaping? It's just hard to know.
And again, I don't think we necessarily have a huge preference. You know, we will be using the fence along I-75, and TDOT will be using it into the entrance of onto Camp Jordan Parkway. Yeah, I think Mr. Miller, you wanted to use it in front of the retention pond there, and there's some other. But
I think the areas I think my preference would be appropriate would be along the retention pond, along the wetlands on the east side, and just going out there and taking a look. I could understand at Bass Pro, since that's not the front of their building, it's actually the rear of that building. It would be appropriate that whole length there too. Since that's the back of the road building, and you know, I see a fence as a barrier.
Right.
You want to keep people from the back of any kind of building, you want them to come in the front.
Right.
So I can certainly understand that I feel would be appropriate along Bass Pro.
Right, and I don't disagree with you. I see a fence as a barrier too. I think that the idea is we kind of would like to have a barrier where pedestrians that are coming along the parkway are not going in and out of the parking lots versus walking in the areas that are just like a vehicle. So whether it's a hedgerow, and the other thing, if you notice in some of those pictures, like in Turkey Creek, a hedgerow, it hides. In some of those, you can barely see a regular sedan. It almost covers the whole car to where you're not staring at the cars. You're seeing the buildings and the architecture that's in the development versus looking at the fronts of vehicles. So.
I mean, you could very easily go with the fence along Bass Pro and the two other areas, the wetlands and the retention pond, and then go with the hedgerow in front of the other. I like the hedgerow because that complements along with landscaping. It just seems like trees and landscaping are more native. When you look at a fence, that's more of a structure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we'd be opposed to a hedgerow along the whole. You know, if that's the preference of the city. You know.
Well, I like the idea of the four rail, split rail on the retention and the other, because that's going to tell people to stay out.
That's right.
We don't want you to enter.
Right.
We can also put like a split rail behind the Bass Pro.
Oh, I can agree with that, because going out there looking at it, that does have, they have a lot of supplies back there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of basically that fence there, they just say stay out of here.
Yeah, and I think that,
right in the front.
you will see them do some additional landscaping when we come up with what our plan is. when the city comes up with what their plan is. I think they're prepared to do additional work. We've discussed this with them. I think we just need to sort of tell them exactly what we want to have done and come up with a plan that everybody's happy with.
And all we're asking is what, to go into the design work that we're doing now?
Yeah, either it being a hedge or whatever the city would decide, but something to differentiate the public right-of-way and the private property.
Can we do this as a, I guess, an option when we, ultimately, when we go out for bids on this work, can we have it as a alternate? Yes, and so that if we had to, we could just say, we like the fence idea, but maybe it's not in the budget, or whatever. We have the option. It's not a point of no return, essentially.
The only thing I can add to that is the whole cost of the construction of these streetscape amenities, as well as the maintenance for the next 20-some years, is all going to be bundled together.
That's right.
And that's going to be paid for by the Board of Regents.
Yeah, if you did it at a later date, that might not be the case.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you decided to wait and then try to build that into it later, it would be a reimbursable as long as we do it before 2022.
Right.
And we get the Wood Brothers to pay for it.
Well, and two,
Paid out.
I think it will help to have some kind of drawing, some kind of rendering to see what it's going to look like with the landscaping that we have as well. And I would feel more comfortable having the ability to say,
I think hedgerows are gonna cost you more than the fence.
probably will. But like I said, it would be, to me, far less labor intensive over the long term, even though it would be bundled into the maintenance agreement. Will the fence be bundled in to the maintenance part of it, or will we have to get out there with our crews and repaint every 2 years?
It's all to be bundled. I need to sit down and talk to Mr. Price about the maintenance back on that. But my plan is to bundle all of it will come under the maintenance.
Just to confirm,
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
If you guys-
I was just gonna ask, the placement of this potential fence or hedgerow, that is on right-of-way property, or is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't-
It is on right of way.
All right. My
Yes, sir.
question is, if I'm not mistaken, this will be the third time we'll be putting out a bid to spend money on this section of Parkway. We've already put out a bid, we took out, we put out a bid to add what we're fixing to add, the trees, the lights, the water.
Right.
Okay. Now we're going to add this for the split rail fence in, so that'll be the third add-on, or whatever you want to call it. Then we're going to add it to reimbursement for 25 years. Does the MPL have a reimbursement coming back out of the Board of Regents? And if so, then why can't they add this back to their 25 years? That the Board of Regents taxes, let them reimburse it back through them. Let them pay it up front.
Would be because it's not their property.
I think that's
not on our property.
entirely, likely that would be a hindrance to them doing it.
Could we give them, we've already given them a right of way up there, so now could we give them, put a split rail fence down through there, and let it be reimbursed through their reimbursement instead of ours?
You don't own that section of the road in the state, so you couldn't give that property to
That's
a
right.
unless you want to pay for it.
What's he saying? I can't hear you.
He said the state actually owns,
For now,
But we're in the process of getting that.
we're in
We're
the.
hopeful.
Understand.
we're hopeful to, yes. But as of right now, the possibility exists that the state comes back and says, well, it's going to cost X amount of dollars, we're going to charge you to.
The state does reserve that right. They do.
So,
But I don't think we will.
I don't think they'll do it, but the regional manager I talked to didn't believe that that could happen. However, you said you don't know what they're gonna do in Nashville.
Yeah, well, they charge us.
So,
Fire, so.
you know,
Indeed. So,
We're gonna get the money to pay for this up front.
on,
and we'll have to,
I know. Well, most of these, you know, you've got it, the only way you can get the general obligation down for a period of 20, 25 years is to do a bond issue. You know, we look at the Tennessee Municipal Bond Fund, you know, they pay a very reasonable amount for bond issuance costs rather than 2 or 3% bond council will get involved with, you know, paying, so there's some economies on that.
so, ladies and gentlemen, what we'd like to do.
I'd like to see the cost of it first before we decide.
Well, and that's, kind of goes along with what I was suggesting would be if we add this as an option that is a removable piece of the puzzle, that, you know, if it turns out to be more than we feel like we want, then we can just back out of that portion of it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mike Price, and Mike Engineers. What I would suggest is if you show this as a bid alternate on the plans, this will come ultimately back before this body. You'll then be able to make a decision whether or not you want to spend X, whatever X is, as it relates to either a fence or hedgerow. But you don't have to, by voting yes tonight, doesn't mean that you vote yes to put in a hedge or fence. You'll have the facts and figures before you at some point down the line, and you can make that decision because you'll then have all the facts at that point. Going ahead now basically costs you nothing, if you will, but it puts it on the table that you can have a decision that you can make later on. So I think that even if you're skeptical of a fence or a hedgerow, going forward now then gives you the opportunity to make that decision once you have what the costs and facts are down the road. Just a thought. Thank you.
At this point, council is really just saying we want this as part of the plan that ultimately we will get
We'll make
bids
this,
back on.
we'll make this an alternate, and when the bids come back in, if you don't like it, if you don't want to proceed with it, you don't add that to the base price.
The way the agenda reads, it says request from Exit LLC to construct a wood fence along Captain Jordan Parkway. So are we voting on them to do it? That's the way this reads.
We're voting.
I'd like to get a little more feel from the council as well. Do you like the idea of putting the fence up for Bass Pro and the retention pond and the floodway area, and then use hedge funds for the balance of it?
I'm good with that. I mean, I think
that
if you had the hedgerow, I mean, we need to get a cost. I'd say.
Or do you just want to get a cost for the fence all the way down? You want to get a cost for the hedgerow all the
I'd
way
get a cost for
down?
both and see how,
All do both.
you know, do the split,
All
cost,
right.
and then do the.
Okay, so we'll do one with hedgerow all the way?
No, I think the way you talk.
Okay, we'll do one with fence all the way. And then she wants all of them.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
Hedgerows
Councilman
will
wants
be
to see,
very
so,
expensive.
looking at all of them, you're looking at one with fence all the way, you want one with hedgerow all the way,
Combination.
and then a combination of both of them? You want three
I
all
don't
the way?
want all edges, I don't want all.
Okay, so you like, okay, so if you don't like
I
that
really
one,
like the combination of fence and the entirety of.
we went two alternates, one with half and half and the other one with fence.
Well, I'd just like to suggest either do a fence all the way, a hedgerow all the way, and then just the fence in front of the retention pond. I think that the fence in front of the retention pond from a liability standpoint probably makes sense.
And the floodway area, I would like to see that, because I just don't want people wading into that.
Right, so I think that in that area, when the road drops down,
Yeah.
from an aesthetic standpoint, before that, into Ringgold Road, I think you either need to do a fence all the way or a hedgerow all the way. And so both plans would have fence from the floodway to the bridge, the retention pond, which is the floodway also, to the bridge, and then either a hedgerow or a fence all the way to Ringgold Road.
Who's that retention pond belong to?
I'm sorry?
Who does the retention pond belong to?
Down.
We can go ahead and have that discussion right now if you'd like.
And then,
We'd like to give you a gift.
their responsibility,
We
to
don't,
put the fence up.
No, that's not, it's still on the right of way. The fence would be in the right of way.
still in the right.
But we would be interested in giving you the retention pond if you'd like it.
We decline.
It could be a pretty pond.
So I think the suggestion
Is that
is,
okay with you? Mike, you okay with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
so if we could get a motion in a second to officially have this, whatever series of options we want to include. Councilmember Helton, would you
I'll
like
make a
to
motion to
have as an alternate?
an alternate design,
Yes. Alternate to the bid.
alternate to the bid.
To do a fence all the way down Kendrick Parkway to the bridge. And then to do a combination fence at the retention pond and wetland, and then hedgerow the remainder up to, I guess, south.
Yes. And the hedgerow the whole way. So we'll have two alternates.
What the mayor said. He suggested hedgerow all the way or fence all the way.
Yeah, but Councilwoman Helton does not like the hedgerow
Right,
the whole
I
way.
think, that's why I say we'll have three. If that's what we'll have.
Yes, sir.
I know you're on the middle of the motion, so I apologize. We'll be able to give you as many alternate versions as you want, because the way that I envision bidding this is that we'll get unit prices per foot of what it costs to put in a fence or a hedgerow. So ultimately, you can decide if you wanted 400 feet of fence and 1,200 foot of hedgerow, or vice versa, or whatever the number that you come up with. You'll know what the numbers are, and again, I think at that point, you'll have enough information, you can make a good informed decision which way you want to go.
My understanding was their proposal was to do fence at the kitchen pond in the wetlands.
And hedge for the balance.
And hedge for the balance on both sides, or
Right.
split rail for the balance on both sides, and not a combination. Correct, Jamie?
I think those were the
Or fence all the way down.
two, was fence all the way, the entire length of Kendrick Parkway.
That'd be one. And two would be fence for the retention basin and wetlands, with the balance being hedge fund. Hedge, yeah.
I thought that's what I said.
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, now, Ms. Helton, is that good for your motion?
I just want it to look good.
I think a mixture all down through the parkway was not good.
We have yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. A little section of fence here, a little edge here, a little fence there. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll say.
If we have a second, any other questions? The motion is to have as an alternate to the plan, the base bid. The alternate would be, there would be two. One would be to have the split rail fence running the entire length of Kendrick Parkway to the bridge. The other would be have split rail fence only at, well, I guess what you could term hazard areas, which would be the retention pond and the wetland area on the east. And then have hedge the remainder of Kentwood Parkway running south to, yes, it would run the entire length of Kentwood Parkway, the hedge of, either option, it would run the entire length of Kentwood Parkway.
We'll have the unit prices at that time to be able to make that determination whether we want to switch.
On the freeway side of the parkway, can we go all the way to the Creek Bridge because of all the easements we got going through there to the billboards?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, just again.
Others, okay.
You wanting to go there?
Just before you get to the bridge on the left side, when you get
There's
to
a-
Gordon Park, there's a big gate down there that gives them access out into those billboards at our side of the freeway.
Right.
Just push the gate in this fence.
Okay, put a gate in the fence.
Okay. So be
That would allow access into that little road, service road.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Obviously, we're not landscape designers. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Sewell.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Backtracking a little bit, item 9B, the grant consent agenda, resolution 2622, resolution 2623, resolution 2624, and resolution 2625. We're going to do them all at once. So, I hate to do this to you. Maybe you just run them all off.
Resolution number 2622, a resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, approving the application for and acceptance of Bureau of Justice Assistance Grant. Resolution number 2623, a resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, authorizing the application for and acceptance of National Wildlife Federation Trees for Wildlife Grant Program. Resolution number 2624, a resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, authorizing the application for and acceptance of the American Library Association Coretta Scott King Books Grant Program. Resolution number 2625, a resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, authorizing the application for and acceptance of the Staffing for Active Fire and Emergency Response Safer Grant Program.
Motion approved. Have a motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
Have our second? Yes, sir.
I know there were some questions in this meeting or the agenda session about the Bureau of Justice Assistance Grant, and I'm here to hear any further questions about that.
That is a 50-50 match.
Yes, sir.
The library thing is a max of $60.
Just coming up.
That's just shipping. It could be up to $60. It's not really a match. It's just we pay for the shipping. So it could be anywhere from $2 to $60. But they,
$60.
in the grant, it said it shouldn't be more than 60.
Do we have any other questions?
On the fire thing, can you find it right here? We have till when to hire firemen?
We should know probably the 1st of May, if we receive the grant, then and then the funds get obligated, and they recommend a period of about 180 days for recruitment. And they guesstimate that most entities are gonna start the following, so that would be FY 2019, before they would start their hiring, and then you have 3 years. So technically, from now until the end of the grant, we would have 4 years, but I would prefer we not wait that extra year. If we can get them as soon as possible, even the FY 2018, and then start our 3-year period then, that gives us time to make sure all of our reimbursements are in by the end of that final year.
Our salaries and insurance, everything has to be paid up front, then turned in, be reimbursed.
And I haven't seen yet of how many times that you can reimburse, but most grants you can do it once a quarter or once a month. So we would just get the information on those, the check stubs basically is what we would use to show that we've paid them off, and then we turn those in and get our portion of it, which would be, we pay up to 25% the first 2 years, and then up to 65% the third year.
And on salaries, we can use this on the new hires.
Correct, and what we're requesting. We're requesting 6 firefighters, but we may only get half of that, but we wanted to basically shoot for the moon and get what we would like to have, and, we'll accept anything that we get.
It's been my experience working with these grants for police and fire and chief. Nobody gets 100% because the number of local governments and municipalities put in for these type of grants is just so large and far outweighs the money that they have to divvy up. So if you put in 6, you'd be lucky to get 3. That's why I was putting a little more.
And then the numbers in the memo give you, we went with a fireman that would say get family coverage. So I'm going to give you what the most would be instead of police.
Okay, any other questions? Let's with roll call.
Vice Mayor Sewell.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Item C, Resolution 2626.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of East Ridge, Tennessee, requesting that the Hamilton County Commission enter into an interlocal agreement regarding reappraisal costs consistent with the prior agreement between the Hamilton County Assessor and the City of East Ridge, which has existed for many years, consistent with Tennessee Code Annotated Section 67-5-1601C2.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Are there any questions? You have the roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Sewell.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Item is approved. Item F, we've already dealt with D and E. Item F is going to be a request from East Ridge Elementary School to hold the 5th grade graduation ceremony on May 23rd at Camp York Arena and to waive the fee.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve. We have the roll call, please.
Do they have a rain day?
No, sure, it's inside.
It's at the arena rather than the
That's the roof leak.
We've dealt with that one before.
Yes, sir, we have.
It hasn't been that long ago either.
No, it sure hasn't.
Okay, we could have a roll call.
Vice Mayor Sewell.
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle.
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Lambert.
Yes. Item G is going to convene to executive session, and it should not take very long, 5 to 10 minutes.
10 posts.
All right. So we will, you want to go back there, back here?